And we are officially live on the Uncensored Entrepreneurs. It has been a while since I've been on the show, so I'm really, really excited to dive in. Um, Number one, I'm just starting out things to just say I am so grateful for so many friends and family that have kind of supported us through some things. But you know what? As we dive into these things, we're going to be talking about just reflecting on everything over 2023 and really setting up those goals for 2024 and the difference between really effectively planning for the new year is to look at all the things that were wonderful in 2023, like the goals that you have achieved, and then to take a look at the ones that you didn't hit, to really break those things down and to understand, why you did or did not meet certain things. And by doing this reflection, you'll find more meaning. You'll be able to attach your why to it. And I'm so excited that we're going to be able to dive in and to talk about all these things that are not only going to help us out, but hopefully bring you some increase as well in 2024. So we're looking forward to this. We'll see you on the inside.
And we're back.
And we are back. And to actually just kind of lift up the mood before we get into all the, just the mechanics of 2023 and 24. If this works, my daughter loaned me a wonderful hat that I would like to kick things off with. So
Yeah. Oh my God.
Sorry, it doesn't turn off. We're going.
I think we need
Go
drums.
the distance.
So we have, as you guys can see, we have new names today. These are all
Oh, gotta love it. It's the longest song in the world, too.
names. And if you would like to know your elf name, comment elf name in the comments below, and I will let you know what your elf name is. And so mine is Mary McSnowflake, and Christina's.
Dude, where's my mom when I need her? Buddy Sparkle Pants, obviously.
Christina's Buddy
Hopefully she
Sparkle
sees the replay on it.
And Starr is Tiny Twinkle Toes, but the best.
I stuck with Papa Bear just because of the family
best of all
pajamas.
time was Robert's, and his was Alfie Humperdinck.
I
Bringing it
can't
to you
believe
live
you didn't share that.
on the Uncensored Entrepreneurs, Alfie Humperdinck.
Humperdinck. So we decided to bring you guys a little bit of Christmas cheer today, wearing our ugly Christmas sweaters, Christmas pajamas, or Christmas onesies. So me and Paco got these matching ho 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 Christmas onesies that we're gonna wear on Christmas Day.
I love it. I love it.
Notice they don't have the flap in the back. It's just regular. They don't have
Oh.
the onesies have the flap in the back.
A demonstration. Bring him out here for a demonstration real quick.
He would love it. But he's sport,
So our story behind the matching pajamas, and again, I'm Papa Bear, Kelly was Mama Bear, and then we had all of our little bears. We bought these last year, and I'm doing a little plug for the Polar Express because that's why we bought them. We went on the Polar Express last year. It is amazing. So for anyone that has not been on that, it was
Or
truly,
if you do
truly
have a
amazing.
kid that needs to go on it, let me know. So then that way I can take him because I want to go.
There you go. You can borrow. Anyone can borrow my kids. You have to buy the tickets a year in advance. That's how
my
crazy.
Where is it? What is so it's obviously a Christmas train, but where
Right,
is it?
right. It's really authentic. It's approximately like 40 cars, and they're always booked out, and every single day for a certain period of time. It's in kind of the mountains, if you will, of North Carolina, and it's just such a cool thing. It's a little Christmas town. The train pulls up. If you've watched the Polar Express, it simulates a lot of those things, the music and everything. You actually take the train into the North Pole where Santa boards your train.
You went to the North Pole to see Santa.
And gives everyone some bells. Yeah, so it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome thing.
Have you guys seen
Very
Tina's Christmas tree? She says she has 5. You're so excited about Christmas, Tina.
Well, I do have 5, but because this is not my house, I don't have all 5 up. But I do have 5 different themed Christmas trees. So my Christmas tree theme this year in my master bedroom is Candyland. So all pink and white Candyland themed. I have a candy cane tree. I have a traditional snowman tree. I have a Victorian tree. I really like Christmas.
Wow, that's impressive.
However,
We have-
because I'm a Christmas baby. My birthday is 5 days after Christmas. So obviously I am a Christmas fanatic.
It's a big deal. You know what's hilarious is that we have the nicest Christmas tree that we've ever had, and we're here in Mexico. And it was like a couple of years ago.
No,
Feliz Navidad. Yeah.
No, it's like the nicest Christmas tree that everybody compliments. They're like, wow, look at your tree. I'm like, I know, I've never had one like this. And like when we lived on the farm, there was 1 year that I was like, I want a real Christmas tree. And finally, like after weeks of begging Ryan, he's like, okay, we'll go out and cut down a Christmas tree. And so we go out. It was like not the greatest experience in the middle of the forest. And we dragged this Christmas tree back. It's dry as anything, right? Like the biggest.
so your whole Christmas tree thing wasn't a good Hallmark movie where you cut down.
It did not look like that. He's like, can we go
Yeah.
home? It's cold. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
It was terrible. And then after Christmas, we take the tree outside and we had like a fire pit and stuff on the farm. So we were going to have like a fire that night and we light it on fire. And you guys, it was up in like 7 seconds. It went poof.
Yeah,
and I was like,
that's why there's so many house fires,
right?
right?
Right? Of course.
Yeah.
I was like, so we're
Say
just
that the Christmas trees go up like that because it's so dry.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no way.
I don't do real trees. I do all fake trees.
Yeah. So obviously this is an exciting, time of year for many. And then for others, right, there's other things that are attached to it. Like I hear from many people, especially with my own experience now, where, people are like, if they've lost a loved one or, whatever it may be, a shift in dynamics of their family, that this time of year is kind of hard. So my prayers go out to them. And I didn't want to continue the show without at least just addressing real quick. I don't want to make this program about that, but I do appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate my co-hosts, the prayers that all of you have had on my family. For those that do not know, December 5th, we lost my father tragically to an unforeseen accident. And so it's been a big impact on us. So these last couple of weeks, I've been just really with my mother, giving her some support that she needs and the remainder of the family, let alone coping, with this emotion myself. And so, when these things kind of happen, I'm going to kind of just tie in. So again, I'm very grateful. Thank you all for your prayers. But I'm going to kind of tie this into what we're talking about here and reflecting on 2023 and how to plan into 2024 to hit those massive goals that you may have for yourself and your family. And this in itself is just one more element that really made me, I was overlooking some things in my own life too, and just preparation and, tomorrow is not certain. So, those things should all really tie into your why and how you spend your time with those that you truly love. And then even just prioritizing, the things that are like most important to you in life. So I look forward to kind of diving in And let's just let's do some round robins and talk a little bit about 2023. I know that everyone's all about the resolution, right? They, the New Year's resolution, they get in there, they're like, this is what I'm going to do. And if you look up the statistics, if you Google it, they say most people are done in the first 60 days, right? They're like, it washes completely out and they go back to some of these bad habits. And so we'll talk a lot about that too, how to break those bad habits. So the best way that I can see that we should dive into this, and the things that I've learned in the past, is not just to make a resolution, but to reflect on like what's happened this year, right? The goals that you had, maybe the resolutions that you had at the beginning of 2023, and the intentions, and then why have you not hit those goals or kept that resolution? And a lot of times it's because there's not a big enough why attached to it. But there's a lot of factors, right? We're pulled in multiple directions. And so by just reflecting on those things, what worked, what didn't work, and then how do you, kind of change the course going forward into 2024. So anyways, I love it. I'm open. The floor is open. What do y'all think?
I started writing my goals down the last couple of weeks, and I do them all in the different, sections like, faith, finance, business, friends, relationship, whatever the 7 different ones are. And I'm a list builder. And so when I write, and I have to fill up the whole page for some reason. So I'm like just writing all these goals, even if they're small or minute, I think I need to stop doing that because I have so many goals for next year because I am such a list builder. I think I need to adjust that. But I would like to know if you guys do like a year in review. Like, what do you guys do when you guys look back at your business? I know you look back at your finances, but what else do you guys do to do your year in review before you go into the new year?
Go ahead, Starr, you go.
Well, one thing that's really important to look at is, obviously your wins, because a lot of times we're only focused on, okay, we failed at this, we didn't make enough money, or we didn't sell enough products, or whatever the case may be. But when you analyze where your failures are, and not really harping on that as like, okay, I didn't have success, but actually, why didn't I achieve these specific results? That helps you to start clarifying things for next year. So for example, a lot of people might have started off 2023 really strong. And as the economy started to, the economy has been an issue for over a year now, but people are starting to feel the impact of that now. So some of the things that may be working or weren't working, that were working for them may no longer be working for you. And some people just still continue in that vicious cycle. Well, I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. That's no longer working. So it's really important to understand. And I think that we talked a little bit about this behind the scenes. It's like looking at the analytics of what's happening in the numbers. And that's really important to understand. For me, my business is cyclical. I have certain seasons where things are going to be booming, and I have certain months where things are not going to be as, I'm not going to have as many sales. But if I see that, okay, there's a shift in that, what's contributing to that shift, and what can I do to actually make a change to increase my profits or increase my sales? Maybe I need to run ads. Maybe I need to do a different type of marketing strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. So like embracing like the shift, knowing that you're going to have to pivot along the way. And we've talked about that like so many times, right?
Your goals. Like, it's okay to have this one goal, and because something's not working, you go in there and adjust and shift.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to talk about those things. And, I recognized a few years back, it was funny because like we'd always make funny New Year's resolutions because we knew that nobody would stick to them. So I'd be like, I'm going to give up smoking this year, and I don't smoke, right? Like we give up like silly little things and we kind of make a joke about it. But over the last few years, and I'm going to encourage our listeners, watchers, wherever you are today, I'm going to encourage you in this next year to upgrade your habits, because it's really hard to once a year write down your goals. And then all of a sudden, okay, I've got to carry these through the year. And so we sit down for a week out of 52 weeks. And we write down our goals, we reflect, we do all those things, right? And then by the time March 1st hits, those goals are out the window and we've gone back to our old habits. Yep. And so what I have taught many people how to do is reevaluate, because if it's common, it's good if you think about your year in review and you sit down once a year and you journal or you write it out and you write down your goals. But if you want to have excellence in your business, you're going to have to be willing to do more. And so I said, what about the people that do this quarterly? Big corporations have meetings and they do their quarterly meetings and they go over everything and they analyze what's working, what isn't working, where do we need to adjust course. This last year, like, let's just say it straight, has been really difficult for entrepreneurs. It's been, we're sitting in a recession. We're going into another year of this, and I'm not saying that to be doom and gloomy. I'm saying because if you want success, you're going to have to do more than most people. You're going to have to step up to the plate and you're going to have to be there and be present and show up more. Like even over the holidays, reminding people that you're still here. And so, instead of doing a year review or a quarterly review, I do monthly reviews and it takes me about an hour, but every single month, and I put it in my calendar on the last day of the month to go through and I answer all of these questions. And basically what it comes down to is once I've answered this series of questions, what do I need to start doing? What do I need to stop doing? What do I need to continue doing? And I do that every single month to get better. And if you're really good, you'll look at your weekly habits. And if you're like excellent, when I go to bed at night, I think about my day in review. This is how I fall asleep. I do my gratitude. And then I think about my day in review. How could things have been better? And now maybe it was a better conversation with a client. Maybe it was a better conversation with my daughter in a moment that I was frustrated. Maybe it was connecting and saying thank you more to my husband because of everything that he does. But by the way, my daughter brought us coffee and almond roca in bed today. She made the coffee and brought it in. And she's like, and don't forget your almond roca. I'm like,
if you want to come support Tina, just come. I'll take you to the Pono Express. You can bring me coffee.
She'll be packing her bags in a second, but it's just like, it's having those constant reviews as opposed to once a year or twice a year or quarterly. It's actually focusing on up-leveling your daily habits and getting better every single month. And if you can do that and look at it wholeheartedly, I'm telling you, it'll make all the difference in the world to your business and you'll move forward faster.
Yeah.
Do you guys track your daily habits like on a tracker?
So I do with my sales calls now. So I do sales tracking. I wasn't doing that as effective as I should, right? A lot of my business came in through referrals, and I took that for granted, quite frankly. So as you were just saying, Buddy Sparkle Pants, but no, as you were just saying that when things shifted, it was hard for me to kind of adjust to that because without those metrics, right? Without having those KPIs always at your fingertips, just understanding exactly where a lead comes from and, what are your success ratios on closing that lead or whatever it may be. It's so important so that when things do shift, you know exactly what you have to do in your business or not do, quite frankly. And so I do on the sales side. Some of the other things, as Christina was saying, I still reflect on those things monthly, and then I still set up my my weekly schedule as well. But I know Starr,
I was
aka Twinkle Toes. I know that you probably are a little bit more like intent, right, with your metrics.
Yeah, so we actually do use a daily tracker in my business. I currently don't have an appointment setter, so I'm not using the main one that we normally use. But yes, I actually have an entire tracker where it's like, okay, these are the activities that you're going to do every single day, and then we check those off. Did we admit group members to the Facebook community? How many people did we connect with? How many messages did we send? So I can actually see, okay, what are the conversions from that converting into actual triage calls being booked and then sales calls and so forth. But I am having some changes in my business. So my metrics are going to change a bit. And so I'm actually creating like a new format that I will use. But yeah, I give that to my clients as well. Like you kind of have to, you need structure in your business. So it's good to have a checklist of something that you can go through. And you guys know I love team members as well. So at least having something that your team member can actually submit every day for the KPIs. And if you do have a VA, make them submit KPIs every day because I see so many people failing and they're just paying for nothing. And it's like, well, what did they do for you?
Yeah, that is it. That is it, right? Because actually a VA is only as good as the expectations that you line them up with. And we see that time and time again where someone's just like, I'm so overwhelmed, so I'm going to outsource this to a VA. But if you don't have all of your metrics in place and what works and what doesn't, then they have to actually go through those steps. And one, they're just going to mechanically go through what they think is best based on their experience with other clients if you don't direct them. Do nothing at all would be another option, right? Or they will have to relearn that entire process that you may have already handled over the years. So no, I'm glad that you brought that up.
And also, while we're talking about reviewing, so many people review, and like maybe you go back and you're like, oh my God, my sales are down this year, or I didn't do what I set out to do. I looked at my year in review, and I was really disappointed because I set out at the beginning of the year to do something, and I'm still in the process of doing the same thing, right? Like sometimes it takes 6 months, sometimes it takes a year, sometimes it takes a couple of years to get a great team together if you're somebody that's scaling your business. But what I think is really important is that you're not just looking at business growth or money growth, you're also looking at personal growth. You're looking at what you've overcome. Like what I've gone through in this last year has made me absolutely bulletproof online. There's nothing anybody can say to me that will change things. No, there's nothing anybody can say to me that would shake me or take me off my mission. And sometimes our mission isn't like this, right? Like sometimes the things that we're creating doesn't happen overnight and we don't get the result right away. So who did you become this last year? Are you recognizable to the person that you were the year before? And my goal is to be unrecognizable to the person that I was the year before. And if we can give ourselves that credit, that has to happen first before any money goals are hit.
Oh, absolutely. And exactly. If you're reflecting on your past and you're the same exact person, then there's been zero growth, right? And so who wants that in business? And quite frankly, if there's zero growth and you're the same person you were a year ago, then it means all those goals that you may not have hit, there's a reason, kind of behind it.
Give yourself grace too. Like if you didn't hit them, Christina, you're having a baby. So
that's what I love about.
You're 7 months pregnant. So, you got to give
Exactly.
yourself grace for those kind of things too. Yeah. And with what you said, buddy Sparkle Pants, that sometimes when you are scaling or when you are trying to make that pivoted move, you got to take a couple steps back and put this on the side burners so you can focus on this stuff really quickly. So you got to give yourself grace as well. Okay. So what does she give you?
So my daughter is the smartest when it comes to timing. She knows I'm like, hey, I'm doing this Zoom, I'm doing this show, don't interrupt me, you got to be quiet, right? So what does she do? She comes over here in the middle of the show, knowing that I won't argue with her, hands me another almond roca and says, can I have one too? And I'm like, yeah.
That's it.
Yes, go. The good timing.
Don't you love the once they've learned?
You want an almond roca? I know you kind of want one of those. I'll go get you one, and I'll get me one too.
Yes. But don't you love it when they've learned not to give you that verbal communication, like, don't interrupt, but they still, so now it's the nonverbal, right? Where they stand in your peripheral and they just stand there and they
door open, Robert.
Yeah, always, I all the time. She'll just be right here. And then I'll be like, yeah.
Or my kids will be like,
exactly.
I don't blame her though. It's smart negotiating. You just wait for the opportune moment and ask, right? When people are going to say yes, when you know they're going to say yes.
Almond roca, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you mentioned a couple things, like if we kind of blend together all of those points. You talked in the beginning, Tina, about writing those goals down, and I have learned this over the years. I've always been a visionary. Like if I go way back and even some of my leadership roles where I had a ton of people working for me. So it was easy to be kind of the vision, the leader, and then just delegate these things. When you're an entrepreneur and, you're building your own business, a lot of times it's you, right? You're filling multiple hats. And so writing it down, if you don't do that, there's no intention, there's no power behind it, there's no energy. It's just a thought. And what I really like kind of fades into what you said, Christina, that as you're writing down these goals, sometimes they do shift. I'll write down a goal for this week. It goes into next week. That it goes into, and then all of a sudden you start to realize, and that's part of that, like, adapting, you start to pivot in itself and you go, maybe I really don't even need that. Or maybe that's a long-term goal that I can kind of set out there for something, 6 months, 12 months down the road. So it's important. If you're not writing those things down, it's nothing more than a grocery list when you're sitting there in the grocery store and you're like, what was I supposed to get again? I knew I needed something, and then you leave there with 10 things and you forget the 3 things that you needed. So anyways, I mean, so is life. Life is just like that.
And the other thing is prioritizing these goals, because we have some huge, massive goals, and we have tons of goals. Like Tina had an entire list. I don't know if I'd keep going, Tina, but but it's important to prioritize them, because even myself, I'm working on 5 different things, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not getting anything done. I start getting overwhelmed and frustrated. So understanding, okay, what is the most important thing that I need to do that's going to help me move the needle forward, whether that be in business or personal life or whatever that may be, and then prioritizing that and knowing, okay, my first goal is to finish this project. My second goal is to finish this project. Then what are the steps within each project that you have to take
Exactly.
to complete that project so that you're actually working on it? So maybe in January, you want to launch a new offer, a new coaching program. What are all the things that you need to have in place to launch that program? Your sales page? Are you preparing an entire launch? And people start to get overwhelmed by all of those steps that they need to do and all of the emails that they have to write and so forth. So just having your steps written down for each goal and then prioritizing those goals will help you to actually achieve them by the end of the year.
Absolutely. And when I onboard a client, I bring them into Trello, right? And one of the things that we do in Trello, just something I had learned from one of my coaches a long time ago, is you assign a dollar sign. And it's not just necessarily money per se, but let's say if it's a single dollar, if it's $3, if it's, whatever it may be. What that allows you to do, though, is to reflect on how much money is this going to cost and what's the level of attention that it requires. And if it's a high level, like actually onboarding somebody to the point of actually discussing, going through some dynamics and kind of peeling back the layers, that's something that I put a lot of priority in. I don't believe that there's too many people that I can expect to do it the same exact way as me. So I put all of my attention there. And then as you start to go through that exercise, you'll realize, wow, this is nothing. I can hire somebody $150 and this task is done, right?
Yeah.
So I love that. And those are the type of things that really set you up for the VA as well.
And I also think that I have learned a lot the last year in terms of VAs, because I always have to retrain all my VAs. Like when I onboard a new one or whatever, I have been doing a lot of videos, trainings and stuff. So I can just send them all the videos. This is how I do things. This is how this is, I want you to go into all my Instagrams and kind of look at how I talk, and it kind of rolls out and it sounds just like, so, having all that stuff automated, I think is good too.
Right. Absolutely. So here's an interesting thing. We're talking about money. We're talking about goals and certain things. I printed out that list of 20 things, right, that we had shared the other day in our group. One of the things that I really liked, because a lot of times I overlook this, and with what's happening in my family, this really made me reflect on some of these things. Who was most important in your life in 2023? I think that's huge. Both in your personal life, but also in business. Like, who was instrumental this year that you should be either, really collaborating with in a bigger way and support? Those are important things. And I know that John Maxwell talks a lot about that too, is like kind of leveraging your relationships, who do you know that I should know, and those type of things. So what are your thoughts behind that? Like, who's the most important thing in your life in the last
I like doing that, because then you can know, you are who you spend your, they always say you're the same person, or you're the person you spend the 5 people or whatever it is. Whatever that is. I can't talk right now. I like how that is, because if you know that you have that negativity, you can be like, okay, you know what? I need to distance myself with this person, or distance myself with this person, and spend more time with this person.
Yeah.
Helps me.
Absolutely. One of the things that I started to dive into, and Starr, you may have some input on this just because of some things that you're going to be, you're already putting in place, but you're shifting into in the new year, things we've talked about. When I looked at my client base, I realized there was a certain base that's still very, very important, right? Those that we were either onboarded at a lower rate, those that we've collaborated and maybe done some bartered services. There's all these things, right? But they fit into this category where my relationship with them is just as important as somebody that pays me $20,000. However, what can I automate to make my life more manageable, right? Because in many ways, when I have a client that pays 20 all the way up to $50,000 to actually have like coaching services one-on-one over the year, I'm going to be spending, I mean, it's just natural. I'm going to be spending a lot of attention with them because it's what they're expecting. It's what they're paying for. Otherwise, they would use any other out-of-the-box system. And so what can I do to still provide a lot of value to some of my other clients that I don't necessarily have all the time that I used to have, right, as I'm growing my business? So I'm automating a lot of things. I'm starting to build some courses and actually put more of my content in, you know, like guides and things of that nature. So,
yeah.
Exactly.
Getting organized that way is so important, Robert, and having that that foresight to automate the stuff that you can, right? We do not want to take relationships out of our business and us personal, you know, being personal in our relationships with people that we meet online or people that we're serving. But in the same sense, like if you're or your VA is sending a message to every single person that follows you, you can automate that. You can also, you know, save yourself time from sending out freebies or invites to webinars and workshops if you use a call to action and use a keyword, right? So there's like things that you can automate that will enhance and free up some of your time, but also things that you want to make sure that you are the sole person that is involved in that relationship.
Yeah.
I really like that question about like who is the most important in your life. I want to break it down to a couple of other questions because I think that they're really valuable too. Like whose life have I moved forward this year? Right? Who have I helped this year? And that's what you think about next year. Whose life do you want to move forward next year? Who? And then this one is a bit painful when I answer it, but who have I underserved? Who have I lost?
I love that. And I just wrote that down the other day because I thought a great deal about that, right? Even in some of our best relationships, it's like, I need to do better. I need to do better in that relationship, cultivating it, collaborating, whatever it may be. I've mentioned this before on one of our shows. When I think back years ago, one of my number one clients was somebody that never spent more than $800 with me. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, they really didn't just feel a need in what they were building at the time. They never went forward with their coaching business. However, they were like a master at the invitation, right? They would invite so many people and refer so much business to me that I always say, like, that's that type of person. It's not always just monetary on the surface. Yeah. It's the person that really is doing a couple things. They're making a huge impact in your life, their life, but the world as well. And so I have a lot of people I collaborate with on that level. Quite frankly, a lot of times, you know, some of my own monetary investment, if you will, is in those collaborations because I know the impact is so much greater to the cause. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, when you think about those people and how much of an asset they are to you, what I want to do is become an asset to others. So how can I be an asset not only to my clients, not only to my following, how can I be an asset to my family? How can I be an asset to my coaches? You know, that's one thing that people often don't think about is how can they be an asset to higher level people or strategies or whatever and show up, because if you learn how to be an asset to people, you are constantly featured when they need testimonies. You're constantly featured in their social community. People start to recognize you. Like there's a lot of people that will talk about our talk show, or they'll talk about, you know, communities that we're in. And hey, I saw you talking, or how many times have you guys heard, oh, I saw you do an interview with Ray. Like you guys have all, you know, you've had those conversations with people like him that it changes how people see you and your credibility online. And so why not focus for the next year on just becoming an asset to the people around you and think about how you can do that right now in the economy, how you can do that with your gifts, your zone of genius, your products or your services, instead of like focusing on the bottom dollar, which I know so many people are doing right now because it's Christmas and we spend so much and this year has been hard and all that kind of stuff. Well, let's focus on what we can give. And I'm telling you, when you start focusing on who you can serve and what you can give, everything changes. And the opportunities that come up, the things that happen to you, like I've just been blown away over the last month on the people reaching out and stuff that has landed in my lap just because I've given more than I've received this year. And I'm okay to do that each and every year because it's something that you never underestimate the power of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what Eric says here. I mean, same thing that you're saying. He's echoing the fact, serving others, building trusted relationships. That's exactly it. And I always tell someone, when I even onboard new clients, they're still trying to figure out like who they are, right? Because I focus a lot around brand. They have absolutely no idea. Product, services, who I am, what are my talents, what are my God gifts. And as they're figuring that out, I'm like, let's start with serving. As kind of in parallel, as we're mapping out some of these other things, serve, because when you serve others, you tend to learn so much more about the world and yourself.
Well, what you send out is what you get back tenfold.
Absolutely. It amplifies for sure. Yep.
It
So
says it in the Bible, and it says that, anywhere you talk, you push that out. You have that positivity, you push it out, push it out, push it out. You're going to get that back tenfold. If you help somebody do something, you're going to get that back tenfold.
right.
So having that servant's heart is
it's huge. Starr, are you able to talk yet, or do you still have a dog fight outside? By the way, just so everyone knows, when I said, "Hey, Starr, what's your input on this?" and Christina jumped in, it's because we're not only communicating with you, our audience, but we're kind of communicating with each other behind the scenes. And Starr's like, she typed in the private chat, "I've got dogs barking outside," so she kind of
had my window because my family doesn't like the AC on. They're like, "I'm always freezing them out." So I did turn it on a little bit, but I realized it when I was like, "Let me have some air coming in," and then you could hear us. I'm like, "Closing it."
Did everyone up north catch that? By the way, just now she just said AC. I didn't have the AC on.
I get you, Starr.
There's some of our audience right now. Starr is sitting in 6 inches of snow. So
I'm sorry, I'm California.
They do not feel sympathy for
inches of snow, but it is a whopping 35 degrees outside here in Atlanta, Georgia. Let me tell you, it ain't hot Atlanta today.
Yeah, it's been cold. The mornings have been cold here on the.
It's colder here too.
So you have all my empathy.
Yeah, not me.
Exactly.
I went to the beach this morning and got a tan and walked.
Yeah, exactly. So, Starr, what are your thoughts? You had some.
So I love what you guys were saying about serving, but I wanted to talk about getting real with yourself. Okay.
Yes.
And really acknowledging that you're not living in this. Yeah, you have all these goals, you have all these dreams, but in reality, what can you actually make happen? Maybe you need to actually get a job right now while you run your business. Maybe you need to work on your business more. You're not working on it enough. Maybe you need to invest in a mentor and stop being afraid to make that investment. So just getting real with yourself as far as what you actually really need to do to achieve these goals. A lot of people don't look at the reality.
Wow. A couple things adding to that, because I think it all kind of goes into sync, that fact that what's the biggest fear that you faced in 2023? And that typically will set you up for an amazing 2024. So just think about your fears. I know we always jump into I want to lose weight, I want to do this. So focus on fear itself. What prevented you from getting up early each and every day, even if you worked?
I'll show you.
There you go. Yeah. Well, that actually had something to do with your husband's goals as well. But
that was extracurricular activities.
Yeah, right. He had a whole nother goal in mind, but either way. But But absolutely, so fear. But you're right. That was a big thing. I mean, for you, look at the last couple of years of just moving from Canada, all the way down into Mexico. So huge, right?
It's just different. It's
with Christina too. I mean, she probably had some fear. I mean, all the stuff. I mean, she shared with us her struggle with infertility and having the baby. So there was a lot of fear around that as well. A
lot of stress, really just worry and stress. And the other piece of it is I don't know if I'm hormonal, weird. But I just feel like this over the holidays, this heaviness a little bit. And Robert, like you were talking about, people look at the holidays as something really beautiful and something to enjoy, but there are a lot of people that are lonely. There are a lot of people that are suffering loss. You know, I think about everything that we had to give up to move here. When I actually like sit down and think about that, I get really teary-eyed because we had this perfect situation with all of our family close and we could be around them. And I know they're going to be together over the holidays. And not to say that we don't have community here, and Ryan's dad and stepmom will be here. And, you know, we do really well for creating that kind of community and environment for our daughter here. But it's just this time that you reflect and you're just like, you know, how do we get here? Or where are we going next? And you have all these questions. And so if you actually take the time to sit down and think about them, what I learned over the last few years is you don't need this big grandiose plan for your life. You just need to know what's the next right step right now, because like Robert said, things can change in an instant. You know, life is not guaranteed. Your future is not guaranteed. Your business is not guaranteed. So what is really important to you? What are the things that are like you really, really value? Who have you not picked up the phone and called? You know, I was having a bad day the other day, feeling this way a little bit, you know, and I called my grandma, who's 94. And we just like sat on the phone laughing and like having this conversation and shaking our heads. And she's like, I can't believe that you're pregnant. I can believe it. Like I know you're pregnant, but I just can't picture it. I'm like, I'm 40. How do you think I feel? Like, I can't believe I'm doing this at 40. And we just started laughing, you know? And so you have to start to think about what are the things that bring you joy every single day. As business owners, I'm going to tell you, often we forget the joy. We forget to have fun building business. We put all this pressure on ourselves.
We get lost in the numbers. We get lost in these metrics, right? So,
and that's not the important stuff.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And, you know, that has allowed me to really reflect on some things. The fact that, you know, I still want to be successful to the point that it not only provides for self without like a huge burden, but the ability to be able to amplify that and duplicate that in other people's lives so that then, you know, they can share in the same thing. Each and every one of us were actually, you know, designed as we were brought into this world to have abundance. In multiple ways. You define success and abundance however you'd like, but we were designed to have that. And yet it's a lot of times these things that we talk about are limiting beliefs, you know, imposter syndrome, whatever it may be. Sometimes, quite frankly, it's the way we were programmed to be told that abundance is bad and that we're supposed to give up everything. But how can I serve?
The root of all evil.
Right. How can I serve thousands of people without actually having, you know, the ability to do so? And so I believe there's an exchange there. It's the intention behind money that becomes, you know, evil or good. So, but anyways, I love that. And another thing, so in addition to fear, I really love this one. It's a really good thing we can kind of just break down and close out on. Are there any things as you're evaluating? So as you're evaluating the good, the bad of 2023 and you're going into 24, are there any things that you should absolutely bury and leave behind? So what are your thoughts around that as a goal in general? We tend to kind of drag that stuff into the new year, right? It's like the ball and chain that we just kind of, we know that it's been weighing us down. We know that it's been holding us back in so many different ways. We know it's a big burden. Whether it's financial, mental, you know, something attached to soul or heart, and we drag it right into the new year expecting something different.
You know,
bury that shit.
Yeah, right.
Right.
But you know what? A lot of it is forgiveness. And, you know, if you like, you know, it's the forgiving part of it is not for them, it's for you. And once you understand that, then you can kind of keep that shit back there.
That's so true.
Yeah.
So true.
I think, you know, so often we put ourselves in this position where, and this is at every stage of the game, by the way, that this is something that people struggle with all the time, is the weight of other people's opinions. And like, and that doesn't necessarily mean, you know, negative feedback, or it doesn't mean that, or judgment.
Right.
It means like you really, you know, whether you're somebody that's working really hard, you want recognition for what you do. And sometimes, you know, we let those opinions of others hold us back, or what we think they're going to think of us, or what we think, you know, what we think of ourselves is probably the most important thing out of all of it. And when you go through all of this adversity, or when you play small because you're scared to disappoint people, when, you know, when you play small and because a lot of the times, you know, when we reach for the stars, when we do when we reach for the stars, and when we like actually
Twinkle
step
toe.
into our, our true calling, that piece of it, when you're striving for more, can be really lonely, because there's a lot of people that you will have to leave behind in the process. A lot of people that were really comfortable with who you were back then. And you start to see people leave your life. And, I did for so many years tried to stop that from happening and include everybody, and then realized over this last year that I wasn't serving anyone in that space, and that if I was going to step into something more aligned with who I was and who I wanted to serve, there are going to be people that fall away, and there are going to be, it's not that you lose them, you leave the door open and let them come back when they're ready and they find the strength for it, but you have to put your needs first. I know that sounds selfish, but you have to put your needs, your goals, your wants, because it's about you and your family. It's about what you're creating. And so often we just don't take that next giant leap because we're comfortable, yet we're being called to do so.
Yeah, so many people live
behind, right? Like, I mean, I have heard so many times, when you up level and you're the smartest person in the circle, you need a new circle. When you have the most money in that circle, you need a new circle. If you're the most positive person in your circle, you need a new circle.
Exactly.
So as you're up leveling, you are gonna kind of leave this little group back there, unless they're going with you. And
they can choose to go with you if they want.
Right. And that's impact at that point, right? The ones that choose to come with you, you're creating impact. And so, you're absolutely right. You talked you talked about those that influence you to the point, like constructive criticism is good. Having that feedback is sometimes very valuable. However, if you change the course of action in your life, your dreams, your desires, your goals, because of someone else's opinion, that's when it absolutely becomes, quite frankly, a tragedy. And then fear sets in. And once again, everything we've been talking about ties into fear. It will prevent you from doing all kinds of things, living up to your true potential in life. And it's truly sad when I even think about like my own relationships over all of these years, where there's someone that has so much potential, but they're just fearful to take a little bit of risk or chance on themselves. And so you kind of see them, just kind of stuck. And I'm not saying that they're still not making some impact in the world. So I don't want to, dilute that, but the fact that there's so much more, there's so many more, there's so many people out there that are like waiting to hear from you, that they're waiting to connect with you on that personal level of your pain, your trauma, your tragedies, the things you've overcame. That in itself will not only save you, but it'll save thousands that connect, with you on that.
Well, you can go through fear, two ways: forget everything and run, or face everything and rise.
Yeah.
So which one do you want to do? It's your choice. Do you want to stay back in 2023, or do you want to make 2024 your best year yet?
Well, there's nothing you can do about the past, right? And so the only thing that you can do from it is reflect and learn forward, or lean forward and keep moving forward and keep that momentum going forward. But I would encourage people to start planning the future instead of really reflecting on the past. You can do it for a short period of time to see where you could get better, but really start planning out the future. What do you want this year? What could you create that would be impactful? What is in your wheelhouse that you're excited to call in, and really start looking towards that optimist viewpoint, right? Because when you correlate success with many people, the people that have the most optimism, the people that are full on moving forward towards what they want and what they believe in, those are the people that create the most success. Instead of being stuck and be like, oh man, that year really sucked. Like, I wonder what this year is going to be like. No, you have to think about how can you evolve, and what skills do you want to learn, and how do you want to show up for people, and who do you want to serve? And that may not be the community that you're in right now. It might be something completely different. But when you actually focus on where you're going as opposed to where you came from, the momentum that you will create is entirely different than if it's a year in review.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And as you said, just as a reflection for people that are maybe taking notes or setting up the next, the 2024, Make it short term though. Reflect. Anytime you reflect, make that short term. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because most people will dwell on that, the task they didn't complete, the goal they didn't achieve. I had a goal to lose 40 pounds this year and I only lost 10, and then I gained 10 back. So yeah, that's right. That's right. So when you look at it though, it's like, okay, well, why? Yeah. And then that's how quick that decision should be. Why did that happen? What can I do different going forward? Because I can't change the past.
And just like you you wanted to lose 40 pounds, you lost 10. Okay, so what did you do? Okay, well, I do remember that, I was kind of slacking on these days. And I do remember that I kept not going to the gym. And I do remember, you got to remember, okay, so what did I not do to get those goals, achieved?
As Kelly would say, cut the creamer out of the coffee,
why?
What?
Sacre bleu.
What?
Exactly. But it is. Have you ever read the book? Let's do a book plug real quick. You ever read the book, The Slight Edge?
Christina.
Right,
yes.
Christina, I beat you to it, right?
Yes, yes, I have.
I love that.
I actually just pulled that book out for my next year's reading. Yeah,
that is a great book. I actually thought about putting it back on my list to read again because it's been a while, right? And coming into the new year, I thought, that's exactly what it is. It's all of those little baby steps and little decisions you make over, a period of time that it seems so minuscule, like creaming your coffee, right?
I won't go to the gym today, but I'll go tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and I'll go tomorrow and I'll go tomorrow. So now you haven't went in 5 days in a row.
Yeah. 5 days. There's people that haven't gone in 5 months or 5 years, but that's exactly it. And it's not actually to put those people down. It's the little things that creep up on you. It's the same thing with saying that, let's say you were at the top, the top of your, health and everything else. If you eat a Big Mac at McDonald's, by the way, we're not sponsored by McDonald's in any way. But if you eat one Big Mac, it's going to have very little, impact.
Very little effect.
But if you eat one every single day for the next 3 years, that's that slight edge that we're talking about. So
I will tell you, my reading is a bit different these days. I will plug this book, and I'll tell you why. I recommend it to every woman that is pregnant on Becoming Baby Wise. It was recommended to me, and my God, my daughter slept through the night at 3 months old because we followed the schedule in here. She slept like 10 hours at 3 months old. And so we will plug back into this. When things work, share them, right?
So and check out in 2024, Christina Whiteley is going to teach you how to get your baby, your
sleep trained
to sleep 10 hours a night.
I'm going to come out with a new course. No, I'm just kidding.
Course on how to.
But Robert, I want to reflect on this because, and thank you so much for bringing this up. I want to reflect on this because so many people set health goals the first of the month, right? And so my husband, who is quite fit, had these. He came home with some shots from the gym because there was good lighting, right? The other day,
I seen those too, and I said, "Oh, Ryan."
Right. So, but here's the thing, right? Nobody cares if you post your gym selfie. And this is just an analogy because I want people to understand when you post your successes, how important it is to talk about where you came from. But he's like, he was proud of himself. Damn right. He should be proud of himself. Yes. He looks really good.
Great example, by the way.
And so he said, how do I post this and inspire people as opposed to them being like, yeah, good for you. Right. Because that's what people think when they see that kind of fitness. And so he talked about when I met Ryan, he was 135 pounds. Okay. He was he weighed the same as me. He was skinny. He still looked great, but he
135 pounds. I'm thinking third grade.
Dude, it irritates me because just as hard as it is for us to lose weight, it was hard for him to gain weight. He's now 170 pounds and it's taken almost 10 years for him to get there. Right. And so he talks about the time, he smoked 2 packs a day. He was drinking every day, going to bed at 5 a.m. After eating 2 junior bacon cheeseburgers from Wendy's at in the middle of the night, right? Then he'd get up, he'd order pizza, and he'd do it all over again. And he was unhealthy. He was hungover all the time, right? And then there was this moment that he's like, I have to change the way that things are, because I don't know if I'm going to make it. Like, I look at the Chris Farleys of the world and the Janis Joplins, and he's like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And he's changed everything. And so for 16 years, he's been doing CrossFit and going to the gym. He's been getting up, and the same thing happened this morning. The same thing that happens every morning. He's like, oh, I really don't want to go to the gym. Should I go? I'm like, go, right? He comes home, same thing every day. How was your workout? Hard, right? It doesn't go away. That business, when you're in business, the hard doesn't go away. Going to the gym, it never gets easier. It's just something you commit to because you understand the result and you have a vision of the result. And as he shared that, he inspired a lot of people to start today. It might take you 2 years. It might take you 5 years. God, I don't know how long it's going to take me after this baby comes out, but like, it might take a long time for you to get to the place you want to be.
To gain the weight, right? It might take you 10 months. Everybody like Hollywood are like, oh my gosh, if you had a baby a month ago, why aren't you the same weight? No, it took me 10 months to gain the weight. It took me 10 months to gain this weight. It's going to take me this long to lose it, or it took me 25 years to create this habit that
the slight edge. It's the slight edge. Exactly.
Slight edge. It's a slight edge.
Just as long.
That long to stop it, but
more longer. Yeah, exactly. But it is about routine. It is about creating those good habits that we talked about, those daily habits, the weekly habits, monthly habits, etc. That's very important. Consistency is probably more important than any other thing that we could actually tell you to do, because whether it's good or bad, consistency, you can actually measure it if it's consistent.
And that's the same thing. Your personal life, your faith, your eating habits, your everything is about consistency.
Everything. Well, I really love this analogy that you brought up about the picture. I'm so glad that you brought this up, because there's so many people that talk all about that, right? Vanity and this person, that person. Quite honestly, I think there's something magical that happens when you take a selfie, or you're happy about something, or you say, look at what I built, look at what I created. Any of these things, anything that we post on social media, of course, if you're doing it with the intention for fans, for likes, for vanity, you'll find that it's very short-lived, and you'll also be let down when it doesn't hold up to those expectations. When you do it initially for self, so like in his case, he took that picture for self. Taking it for self, it then amplifies. So because he did it because he was proud of what he achieved, others can actually resonate with that. And then that's where something magical starts to happen, and people are like inspired, and they're like, you know what? Yeah, I should do that. But
what he said too with it too, it took me, I did this for 20 years.
There's a story behind it that he can share. And that's just like with all of us on our journey. I think about this all the time when we go to see my in-laws. They live in Wilmington, North Carolina, and they're in a retirement community, right? One of those, when I say community, it's like a city within itself. Everything's contained. But every time we go there and we start driving down the street, all I see are people like 60s, 70s, even 80s, riding bikes, jogging, all this stuff, right? Like 80-year-olds that are actually ripped, that have like abs. And so as I'm seeing them, I'm always telling Kelly, I'm like, damn it, why do I have all these excuses? And there's that 80-year-old that's just like out there.
He's retired. He's retired.
Yeah. And by the way, it's not just the ones with abs that you can be inspired by. Whenever I see someone that obviously weighs, even more than me, or I think is more out of shape than self, but they're out there walking, they're doing it. You see them in motion, and you're like, I am so inspired by that person, and I have no excuses to actually get up and move.
I'm glad you said something, because I don't know who he is, but there is a guy, and he was probably 350 when I first moved back down to Atlanta, and I used to see him walking very slow, but walking. And then now I see him, and he's like this.
He's in motion.
Probably like 250 maybe now. And he's just, and I was like, oh, is that the same guy?
And so a perfect ending to that, and then anyone can kind of put some last reflections. I'll tie that right into business as well. Never like look down. And that's why we're leaders. That's why we are coaches. never look down on the person that's only making their first $50, right? Online or in their own, coaching experience, whatever it may be. The point of the matter is they're taking action. And because of taking action, there's something positive that's contributing to that, something that's happening. And so it's all those little baby steps that start to add up.
Yeah.
It's those that, quite frankly, we talked about, the haters online that are going, oh, you're only making $50 a month in your business, but those are the ones that are making no money and they're spending more money than they actually make. So
it's so funny that you say that, Robert. I just was talking to a friend 2 days ago. We were sitting on the beach and our kids are all playing in the sand, and he's had a really successful Airbnb rental. He manages Airbnbs, and he's created a really great business out of it. But he just learned like a month ago drop shipping, and I was like, "What are you drop shipping?" And he's like, "Some stone from Cyan. I don't even know." But he's like, he's drop shipping something random, right? And he's like, "Christina, I took 16 hours on this course. I learned how to set up my website. I learned how to drop ship. And he's like, I got a notification this morning for $49. He's like, I didn't do anything for that. It came in automatically. He's like, I am way more excited about this than the $70,000 months I was doing. This is so much better than all of this that's going on. He's like, I look at our kids sitting here on the beach. He's like, wouldn't you rather live with less and have this quality of life than be constantly striving for more? And I was like, boom, mic drop. Like, absolutely. You've got it made, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
anyone else have any closing remarks for today?
Just take massive action. Whatever you were afraid to do last year, whether it be go live, sell your offers, create the business that you want to create. You're afraid because your husband's going to be mad at you. Take action and do it.
He'll get over it.
Just do one thing. If you have never went live before and you have, I want to get back out there, then go live 5 times a week or go live for 60 days straight.
Yes.
If you have never created a course before and you always wanted to create a course, create the course, launch it, boom, or start selling it. Don't even create the course. Start selling it. Don't even create the course. Create it as you go.
That's like a little secret that like people don't know. They think they have to have everything, like all their T's crossed and I's dotted. It's like, no, sell the thing and figure it out.
Figure it out later.
Wow. That is so true. And, again, I always talk about their reflection of scale when it comes to that imposter syndrome. And so maybe that'll help a few people out there. But on that scale, once again, if you think of 10 of being like the absolute best at that craft in business, whatever it may be. So in coaching, let's say you aspire to be, a speaker from stage like Tony Robbins, okay, and inspiring hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. If he's a 10 and you're a 1 because you decided to take action, there's still a ton of people that are like below 1, those that have not even taken action, that are looking for someone to inspire them to do that. And so you truly can lead at that level.
Yes.
So I do appreciate it. Okay. Well, I appreciate each and every one of you. Obviously, we could talk about this forever. There's a lot we've learned in 2023. We really are going to be bringing a lot of amazing things into 2024, including some other things that we're planning to launch, right? Some courses, some masterminds, things of that nature, some other goals that we didn't even hit, right? That we're planning to kind of reflect back on and to see how we can do that effectively. And a lot of times listen to those things. There's reasons typically behind why things didn't happen as fast as you wanted them to, so now we can reflect and we can adjust and pivot as well. So we appreciate each and every one of you.
I also want to tell you guys too, we are not going to be live until January 4th. We are taking the next 2 weeks off to be with our families and our friends and our loved ones. So, with that being said, we want to wish you guys all a Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Absolutely. And actually go back into some of our archive. Look at some of the people from day one. We're going to be having some of them come back on. And we're learning along the way as well. But that's all part of the process and the journey. I appreciate each and every one of you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Each and every one of you out there, and Happy New Year. And we will talk to you really soon. Thank you.